Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video, and today I am going to be doing the end of year tarot tag by Chanel over at Chanel Days. I already did the mid-year one for this video. I'm doing the end of year one because, I don't know, it's a good wrap up of kind of what decks were working for me and what not, what wasn't, or not really like what wasn't, but it's more a video of celebration about decks I use, what I thought some of my favorites were, etc. I will preface this by saying that assuming that Julie over at Peekaboo Rose does her standout decks video again this year and says like standout decks of 2024, like things of that nature to examine, I might have some overlap there in some of what I talk about, but I wanted to do this one now as I'm getting towards this end of the year. So, yeah, I'm I'm just gonna get right into it. So, this VR has exactly 13 prompts, and so with all things, you start at number 1. And number 1 for this tag is the deck that you use the most this year. And by the way, I'm also going to apologize for my lighting. It's winter, guys. It's winter, especially where I live right now. It's been like very on and off rain and thunderstorm and all that jazz. So my lighting might be weird. Sorry, just is what it is. But anyways, sorry. Deck number 1 is the deck, or prompt number 1 is the deck you use the most this year. And for me, it so happened to be this deck. This is the Spark and Pen Tarot. Oops, sorry. You guys have probably seen this around a lot this year because I have not been able to shut the fuck up about it. Technically, this could also be the deck that is prompt number 9, like a deck you're in love with, because I am very much in love with this deck, but I am going to show a different deck for that one. But it could very well possibly have been put in that too. These are the backs, which are also amazing. But again, I can't just say, oh, let me put this deck as every option in this tag. And these are the fronts. This is a deck that, oh wait, Spark and Pen Tarot is created by, where is it? Always the Writer. I don't know if she still goes by that on Etsy. I don't remember. You can get this deck on Etsy. It's an indie deck. And this is one where I feel like some people will like this and some won't. It just depends on if you like a lot of color indexed. And also, preface or warning, if you haven't already noticed, this deck has a bit of nudity. Usually I'm not someone who likes a lot of nudity in my decks. It just depends on like how it's done, if I think it's tasteful or not. I think it's okay with this deck for me, only because I really love the art style and I really love the color usage, so it works. I use this deck the most this year because as soon as I got it, I was in love with it. I felt a need to use it, and I felt that call. It felt like a very me deck. And I think with all that being said, it meant that basically as soon as I started using it, this deck was giving me very accurate readings. And so I kept wanting to use it to do a bunch of different things. So I use it for quite a few readings, and I also use this deck to help with some of my in-person tarot meetups. Like I would, when it's mainly when I was exploring the major arcana of tarot, I had pulled out like all of them, and I was like talking about them, how it works, how everything just kind of is. I actually need to, I'm not going to explain yet, but I'm going to save this card. I'm going to put it to the side so I can talk about it. But yeah, this deck was just everything I kind of needed this year. And so for that reason, it was my most used. And if I'm being really honest with myself, I probably will be using this more next year, but I just don't know too. Because next year, well, I'll talk about that later, but next year I really want to start using more of the decks I got this year. Besides this one, because I did get this one this year at the very start. But yeah, that was that. This is a Spark and Pen. I'm going to move on to prompt number 2, which is a deck that you didn't use at all or barely use this year. Now, I'll be honest, again, I'm being very transparent, being very honest with myself, all that jazz. A lot of decks could have gone in here. But what I thought was very interesting for me personally was that the deck I didn't use at all this year happened to be the deck that I used the most last year. Can you believe? And that deck in question is this one. This is the Northern Animal Tarot. I have specifically the 3rd edition, but I had like the first, what's it called? It was like the first printing of the 3rd edition. So the deck, as you can see, is a lot like chunkier because it was on different cardstock. It's not the same linen finish, I think, that it's offered now. It was like this, what even was this? I don't know what cardstock this was exactly, but the creator mentioned that it was a cardstock that is supposed to be more waterproof, kind of, on this side. Obviously not the edges, but like on the actual fronts of the card. So I thought that was interesting. As you can see, though, it is a little chunky as a result. It's, again, it's not linen. It is what it is, but I've really bonded with this one. Northern Animal Tarot. Still love this deck. I still think this is a great deck to read for other people. I would still read this a lot for other people. Oh, I still am obsessed with this card. I love this deck. It's still, you know, obviously it's still in my collection. I still love it. I think it's because I used it, though, so much last year that I was just like, I don't need to pull this out this year because I need to give, again, other decks a shot. See what I mean? Like, there's a weird lighting situation going on. Now it's, like, super bright. Don't know. Anyways, this deck, I used it so much last year, so it made sense that I wasn't going to pull it this year. But it is still a good one if you like anthropomorphic animals. I know there's people who do not like anthropomorphic animals, so for you, then this wouldn't even be on your radar, right? You don't care. But I really like this one. I do recommend this, again, if you are a fan of this kind of style. And it's just really fun. It's a really fun one. But yeah, because I used it so much last year, I was just not called to use this at all. And also because this same creator of the Northern Animal Tarot, the Wilder Heart Studio, they released a new deck. Or it came out at least this year because it was a Kickstarter, I think last year, end of last year. I don't remember. Called the Magical Creatures Tarot. And I have used that one this year. So I will say that because I got it as a Kickstarter. I wanted to use that one instead. So I kind of gave this one a break. And so, yeah, I haven't been using it. That is the Northern Animal Tarot. But let me move on to prompt number 3, which is my most recent addition. And I think at the time of me filming this, because spoilers, I will have some more decks that are coming in for the end. But my most recent addition, I'm pretty sure right now, is this deck. This is called the Dream Song Oracle. It is another Angie Solin's written deck, but the artwork is by Marta Orlowska. I hope I said that correctly. Oh my God. This is a beautifully done oracle. As you can see, the box is really pretty. It's one of those like magnetic closures. This is a US Games deck. There's even like a whole poem in here. This guidebook is nice. You know, it has like the full color images, full write-ups for these things. But this is an oracle. It has gilded edges, as you can see. These are the beautiful backs. And it looks very small, but this deck feels like it has a lot of cards. So, yeah. This is this. This deck is really cool. It's kind of more surreal in style, as you can see. Very different. I was obsessed when I saw the artwork. I really like this style. It reminded me, I think the reason why I got it is because this reminded me of the Tarot Mystical Moments. There we go. That's the deck I got in the small version this year. So I thought this would be like a perfect pair with that, and it probably is. I might do a pairings video with this where I go through like what options I think are going to go with this deck. But I don't personally feel like doing a full walkthrough of this one. I don't know why. I'm just I'm just not in my mood right now. And also because some other people did that I thought were good. Shanna over at Shanna D. Is she still going by Shanna D? I don't remember. But Shanna and Robin of Robin's Reflections have both like gone through and done either pairings or talked about the deck videos for this. So I just don't, I don't know. Right now, I just don't feel like it. Don't feel like doing a whole walkthrough. But I'm obsessed with the artwork. And I'm excited to use this one next year. I think I'll be using this probably, though, in January, if I'm being really honest. I don't know why. Well, no. It might be either January or like... no, but it feels too dark for April. Maybe it will be January or February. I don't know. But I'm excited about this one. So that's the Dream Song. But that is my newest addition. And as I put this away, I guess I'll talk about deck or prompt number 4, which is a deck that isn't my usual style. And oh boy, okay, I did get one this year that was not, it's not typically my usual style, but you know, I just, for some reason, was obsessed with getting it. And that is this one. This massive bag includes the Nova Witch Tarot. I put it in this little baggie just because I didn't care for its box. But anyways, this is a Nova Witch Tarot. These are the back, sorry. This deck is massive. And this is not my usual style. And you might be able to tell as soon as I like turn it over, because I've said this so many times on my channel in the past that people would be like, well, no shit, then how is this isn't your usual style. And that is that I don't really like decks that seem like they're black and white. As you can tell by just flipping through this, even if I go like this deck is not a complete black and white deck at all. That's not what I'm saying. This deck actually does have color, very intentional use of color and other things. Like, see, there's other tones in this. But this feels almost like it would be a black and white deck, which I don't buy those normally. I have a couple of exceptions, and this is one of them, and it's just, again, how color plays into the black and whiteness. And also just because most of the figures in this deck, they are more feminine presenting, and I don't usually get decks that are also more feminine leaning like that completely. And also the style of this deck feels very modern, and I'm not usually that style, but at the same time, it's like modern, but as you can see, it's also very fantastical. So it's very, I don't know, it's a very fascinating combination. But yeah, typically this would not be my style. It wouldn't. But as soon as I saw this deck, I was obsessed with it. Again, don't know why. And so I had to have it, and I did, and I got a hold of it. Also, normally I don't intentionally go for decks that I know are really big, but as you can see, this deck is massive. I have small hands, and it just doesn't really fit fully around for me. So normally these would be deterrents, but I was just obsessed with getting this one. So yeah, that's the Nova Witch. And that's a deck that's not my usual style. But speaking, like changing it up a bit, let's think. Prompt number 5 is a favorite deck pairing. And for me personally, oops, sorry, I'm like trying to fix things on the side. For me personally, my favorite deck pairing, I had a few that I really liked. There were a few I could have talked about, but I think I talked about them more in some of my musings videos lately. But I want to talk about this one today, just because I feel like it. This pairing, love this pairing. 2 different decks here. We have the Zerner Farber Tarot, and we have Coastal Curiosity. Specifically, this is the Pocket Edition, but I want to show you guys why this is my favorite. Besides the fact, of course, that the colors just go so well together, I think that this pairing ended up being one of my favorites because both of these decks read very well for me. And because they read very well for me, they're more willing to give me, I guess, those more accurate readings and readings that felt very intentional or felt like I needed them. And I just love the combination together. Okay. So, because first off, the pocket one, as you can see here, is like small. And the Zerner Farber is also slightly smaller in size. So size-wise, I like how they are together. And then I just like the way that the colors play. I like that. Oh, is most of this? Oh, most of this deck is... I'm going to fix this. Sorry. I like the way that the colors played together. It's kind of interesting because both of these decks in their own way are kind of maximalist, but there's something about the way that this deck has the more, it does have a pattern in the background, but it's more one-noted and not like a bunch of different things like this one, that for some reason, I just really like this combination together. Like, look at how good this is. Sharp with the High Priestess, and look at the colors. They just... I don't know, something about them, they go together. Even this one, like Flourish with the Seven of Swords, like how, but the colors match. Like, look at that. Look at how they match. It's wild. I don't know. I don't know why, but these are so good together to me. At least to me. I really like them. And they're just, I don't know, they're interesting in their own way, how they go, but don't go, but they do go. And I think what's also really fascinating about this combination is just the key words in this deck for me personally are so good. And it just goes like Whisper with the Queen of Swords. I'm like, what? So good. Who? Oh my God. Change with Prince of Hearts. Who would have thought? Depth in the Four of Pentacles. Yes, there are things that could be said here. Look at how the colors, again, it's just, I think because both of these decks have such an interesting color scheme and multimedia that's used here, I don't know, there's just the right combo for me. Encounter with the Seven of Wands, I don't know, it was sending me. When I did a reading, I did a couple readings with these and it was just so good. So I wanted to talk more about why this worked for me. Look at this. Support with the Five of Hearts. Oh my God. See, perfect. They are perfect. I'm not taking any questions, not any commentary on the negative. These two are perfect together. And yeah, so Coastal Curiosities and Zerner Farber, if you were wondering if they go together, they most certainly do, and I do recommend you trying out that combo. Okay, back. Prompt number 6 of this tag is a deck, mod, bag, or any accessory bought or made that I guess you want to talk about here. And today, I mean, I could have talked about some deck bags that I like that I bought for certain decks. But instead, I'm going to talk about the mod because this is, I think, the only mod I did this year. This is a Disney Villains Tarot, and the mod in question isn't even that big. I don't do crazy mods in my deck. I don't see the point in doing crazy mods. If I have to do crazy mods to make a deck work for me, I don't know if it's really worth it. But what I do tend to do is edge my decks. And so as you can see here, I edged the Disney Villains Tarot so that the edges match the backs. And specifically, they match, I don't know if you guys can see here, the little grain color in here, like the pattern is what it matches. And personally, I don't know. I think it came out good, especially this side. I don't know why this side was better than the other one. Don't know. But I really enjoyed how the colors turned out. It made me feel a little more connected to this deck too. Not that I wasn't already, but every time you mod a deck, I think, or even just take the time to edge it, I think you do get a little more bonded and just feel a little bit better having it in your collection because you put some of your time and energy into it, right? And putting your energy into it means more of you is in the deck. And therefore, in my opinion, this is just what I think, it also means that your readings become more accurate when you use it, right? It's all about energy, right? And this deck, though, I will give the caveat. I do love it a lot, and I like playing with it, and I do think it's a great deck for studying characters, specifically core card characters. But it does tend to skew towards the shadow or darker meanings of the deck. Of, like Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. In my opinion. Maybe other people have had different experiences. But I feel like every time I use this one, it is on that darker wavelength. It's just a little meaner in that way. Not like completely bad, but it just, that's been my experience, I guess. Yeah, this is the right way. So that's the Disney Villains Tarot. I modded it by doing these beautiful edging, and yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm debating if there's a deck or two I think I also want to mod, or like, not really mod, again, edge next year, but I'm going to debate on that. I'm thinking. But yeah, that's Disney Villains. Next up, prompt number 7 are my favorite deck backs. And this was also really hard because there's just so many good ones from this year. But I decided that I just think these are so good. This is the Slow Tarot. And I think the reason why, despite it only being 2 colors on these deck backs, I just love the way this looks. I love that it looks old and ancient and pretty, because it's like that darker brown tones with this gold in color. And I like that the backs are reversible. Some people don't read reversals, and that's okay if you don't. I do when they pop up. I don't get a lot of them all the time, but when I do, I read them as if they are reversed, because I think that was intentional. You know what I mean? It was just the way the universe wanted to go. But I really like these backs just because they are reversible. And I don't know, I'm such a simple bitch. I really like when all the elements of tarot show up on a card back. Again, that makes me simple, maybe. That makes me basic. I don't know. And plus the fact that this deck is just, as you can see here, also just very stunning. It just makes everything about this deck so fucking good. I cannot. This deck is so good. I do want to do more readings with this next year. Definitely want to deep dive with this one. I don't know when I will, but it's just so beautiful, and the backs just make it even more worth it. Oh, and it's on like great linen, so, I mean, I know not everybody likes linen. They're like, oh, it's too slippy, blah, blah, blah. But I love linen, so I just made everything better with this one. But this is the Slow Tarot. I love the backs of these ones. But there's a lot of other decks this year that also had great backs. This is just one I wanted to share today. But next up, prompt number 8 is a deck with a great theme. And for me personally, has to be this one. This is the Magic Pantry Tarot. This was a Kickstarter deck. It came with a little tuck box, came with this little baggie. It has the guidebook in here. But I want to talk, of course, about the cards. This is a deck that is food themed. And so, I love food. I love such, like, look at these intentional choices. Obviously, the gingham is everywhere because it's supposed to be like picnicky, foodie. Love it. It's simple, but it works. It's on brand. It's on theme. And I love this food theme. These mushrooms are everything. This deck is so good. I will always love food decks. But this one in particular, I think was done with a lot of intention. I think the art is very cute, but very bright, very vibrant. I actually like the cardstock of this one too. It's kind of like a gloss, and it's smooth, but it's not high gloss. So it just feels very buttery and nice in the hand. So I really like this one. And yeah, I think all the choices were very intentional. I think a lot of the food choices were also very accurate. I am a foodie. I love to cook. So for me, I got a lot of the references. I saw what they were trying to do here. And it makes sense. And this is, oh yeah. This deck also has, they were right next to each other. That's funny. It has 2 Fool cards. Again, for you to make that choice of would you rather want tofu or eggs, you know, in case some people don't like any animal products at all. Again, that goes back to its intentionality. But I think this is such a fun one. This one was so good. As soon as I got this deck, I was like very happy and giddy because it just made so much sense to me. So I do want to use this one next year. It'll probably be more in springtime. I don't know, or summer. It's giving me those vibes. So I'll probably use it then. But this had such a great theme. It took a lot of, you know, art intentions and practice, because I know Cedar, the creator, was originally thinking about this deck being an Oracle deck, but then they switched it to, well, first it was a Tarot, then they switched it to Oracle, then they switched it back to Tarot. So you see what I mean? They were definitely taking their time, and you know, you see it. So yeah, Magic Pantry Tarot was a deck with a great theme. But number 9, time to go into a deck that I am in love with. And to be honest, there's a few I could say I am in love with right now. But I'm just going to talk about one of them. I'm not going to show all the cards for this one because I'm going to explain. But the deck in question is Every Little Thing You Do Is Magic Tarot. I'm currently in love with this deck because I am using it for my tarot advent. So for me, it's like I'm just taking particular time to bond with this deck. As it stands right now, at the day of me filming this, I'm on day 14. So I still have all these. See, the cards are trapped in here. There's like 3 cards a day except this last one on the 25th. Which is 6 cards, yeah. So that's why I'm not showing it. I do have, like, all the rest of the cards that are now out of their envelopes did go back in here, but they're all in order from when they went back. So I can go back and reference stuff and everything. But this deck is great. Part of what I'm doing with this deck and why I'm in love with it is that anybody who's really trying to dive deep into tarot and wants an interactive way to do so can do it with this deck, because it has specifically this separate journal that you can buy to go with the deck. And this journal basically has everything that the deck has, plus journal prompt extras, right? And it really goes into everything. Like, look, there was like the introduction to the majors, the trump cards. It divides things. Even the major arcana are divided into these sections, so you can get like more of a vibe. Then it goes into the minors. Has a lot of journal prompts. Every card is actually here, as you can see. So the journal is just really well done. You can see everything. And especially what I love is that this deck has, as you can see, a gem, a song, and a scent for every single card in this deck. Every single card. I've been enjoying the playlist. I've been just vibing out. It's been a nice little love affair. Not completely in the cards I've been pulling in the last couple days, maybe, because some of those have been wild, like very different from how this month started with this deck. But I'm still in love with the process. I love listening to the music. It's just been a fun time. So yeah, every little thing you do is Magic Tarot. It is one I definitely recommend right now. And I've just been having a grand old time with it. So yeah, that's a deck I'm in love with. For prompt number 10, it says a deck that you wish existed or an out of print deck that I want. And actually, let me take a sip of water before I go into this. The deck that I actually wish existed right now is my own Oracle deck that I am trying to make. I say I wish it existed because there's a lot of things I've already planned, but I don't have any of the physical artwork done of it yet, because I've been doing, I don't know if this is, I don't think this would probably have been the right approach to this, but I did an outline of what I want to do for this Oracle deck. And then I started to write the guidebook. And so I know the card names, I know what I'm doing with it, and I have some of the guidebook, but I do not have the actual cards done yet. So that's why it's not, it's not actually in existence fully yet. I don't want to say a lot on this so far, except that it has to do with dreams. And it will actually be called like in relation to my own channel name, by name. But yeah, it's going to be dream related. I just need to work on actually doing the art, but I think what's been the hardest is trying to figure out the style I want to go about. I know I want it to be watercolor based, but I need to experiment with how that'll look for this. And then I get very caught up on technicals. Like I'm thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to do it where it's like, it has like a title that's kind of like a keyword as the title, but then I'm also doing like a title and then like some keywords on the bottom is probably what it's going to be. It's like, how do I want that to look? It's just, I get very stuck in these things. And for that reason, it's been very, very slow to go. But I eventually hope it'll be in existence and that you guys will, if you want, be able to get a hold of it. I'll be honest, when it happens, whenever the heck it's actually done, more likely than not, it'll be through NPC or Game Crafter, or maybe it'll be a combination of both. Like if people can only get a hold of Game Crafter one, then they can have the Game Crafter option versus the NPC option, So that's that of that. But that's what I hope will one day be in fruition. But anyways, prompt number 11 for this is, which card sums up this year as a whole, or a card that you like a lot? And I specifically pulled this card out. I pushed it to the side for the, what's it called? The Spark and Pen Tarot, because this is basically the card that kind of sums up my year. I mean, okay, I'm going to preface this by saying this is actually my card of the year. For my birth year, for where I'm at, what all that jazz and numbers that lined up. I'm in a temperance year. And to be honest, this is pretty accurate. This is very accurate, actually. More so than I think death was last year. I think this is very accurate to how my year was going, which is that I had to plant a seed and hope it came out and try to balance out the scales of my time, balance out my life, which was very hard in some ways. But I think, I don't know, by the end of this year now, I think I've somewhat made it, but not fully. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that a lot, but this card makes a lot of sense. It basically sums up this year. I am a little worried. Next year, I'm going into a devil year, and I don't know how that's going to go for me. I think I've only had, in my life, one other devil year to date. Yeah, and I think I've only had one other temperance year, I think, is how that's added up. I don't know. I'd have to look back into the archives, but temperance. I felt this card a lot. This year makes sense, is what it is. But now, let's talk about the next prompt. A little more water. Which is my tarot practice reflection. I guess so you guys don't just see complete blankness while I talk about this, I will flip through cards from, what am I going to do here? I'm picking whatever's closest to me, to be honest. I guess I'll flip through cards of the Stella's Tarot as I do this, or talk about my tarot practice. My tarot practice this year was kind of interesting in that I started out the year, these are the backs, by the way. I started out the year strong. And I feel like I definitely did a lot more tarot in the beginning of the year than I started to do tarot in the second half of the year. It's sometimes it's just like that, you know. And I think part of it too is just life got harder as the year went on for me. Like just being honest, just being transparent, whatever. Especially when it got towards like end of September to now, which is like December, it got particularly difficult. And it's not that I stopped doing tarot or oracle completely, because I have not. But I definitely slowed down, and I wasn't doing as much random readings and pullings as I normally tend to gravitate towards. So it was a slowdown. Like even my tarot journal is like a hot mess right now. I need to basically go back and put in everything for November. I've been very behind in like printing the photos, gluing them in, writing up the journal entry kind of thing. Because again, life just kind of happened to me. And so it got harder to keep up for me personally. And so I guess that's kind of why I also decided to jump on the tarot advent train, because when I did that, I was able to feel a little more connected to the cards again, since I tapered off towards the second half of the year, and also just really get to deep dive and know like a different deck. Not to say that I didn't do anything else tarot related. I feel like this year, more than ever, I did a lot more like tarot meetups. Like this was the year where I really flourished with the tarot meetup that I have in person. And so I was able to do more of them. It's not even that was like completely, you know, not as much as I want to do, because sometimes, you know, you have life commitments, things happen, is what it is. But I did more of that this year, and I think that helped fill the well. I also read for a lot more people this year, which was interesting. More other people, I mean, just like random readings and whatever. So that was really cool. So I guess with that, my tarot practice, it made me contemplate a lot more. Once again, contemplating the idea of, am I going to read professionally? I put that in like quotation marks, but read professionally for people or not. I've thought about it. I kind of want to, but I need to get all the specifics honed down before I start that. So I don't know. We'll see if that turns into anything or not, if I have the time for it, etc., etc. But that's kind of been my practice. It was stronger in the beginning half of the year, tapered off towards the end. But overall, I do think this year, more than ever, I've started to use more oracles too. I've started to gain more appreciation for a lot of them, wanting more of them in my collection so that they pair better with the tarot decks that I have. I also noticed with my tarot practice that I definitely got a lot more decks this year than I think I originally intended, which is not always great. I'm in for decluttering, by the way. I have a lot of decks, not a lot, but I've had decks that I'm put aside already. And I've decided the next time I do like a tarot meetup, I'm probably going to bring them there and be like, hey, do you guys want these decks? Just to get them out of my way. I don't want them anymore. So yeah. And also, because I bought so many decks this year too, maybe a little spoiler alert is next year I intend for it to be a very low buy year. I'm not going to say I won't completely ever buy a deck next year, because being realistic with myself, you know, maybe I'll want something around the time of my birthday. But at the time of me filming this, I've already backed a few Kickstarter decks that I know are coming next year. There's certain decks I was supposed to get this year that I'm pretty sure at the time of me filming this, they won't come until next year. So again, those are Kickstarter decks. Those are I already paid for, bought them already, is what it is. I don't intend to do as much of those this year because one, I do want to be closer to a lot of my decks, so I want to slow down a lot on the buying, but also because I actually do need to save money because I have a bigger wedding coming up and I can't be just buying a bunch of decks all the time. So is what it is. It's slowing down, and that'll mean hopefully more intention too in my practice. But yeah, that's my tarot practice reflection for now. And finally, we come to the last prompt of this video, which I apologize now. I realize it's kind of long-winded. Didn't mean it to be that way, is what it is. But prompt number 13 is pull a card for the new year or show off a deck that you want to use next year. And I just picked a random one, to be honest. I have a lot of decks I intend to use next year. I bought a lot of Oracle decks this year that I have not used yet, but I'm going to, or I want to. So this is one of them. This, if you guys can see, is Runners of the Sun. This is particularly 2.0, apparently. I have, okay, funny as I say this and mention this video, this deck and like showing it. I have filmed my first impressions of this, like flipping through, giving off those vibes. It's been sitting on my phone. I don't know if I want to actually, what's it called? Actually upload that video. I don't know why. I just not in the mood, but this is Runners of the Sun. This is 2.0. I don't know how this differentiates from the first edition or 1.0, but these are the backs, holographic, has that rainbow look in the center, holographic edging here. And this is the deck. It's an Oracle deck that is, as you can see, collaged. And I think the main reason I haven't used this yet, despite buying it this year, is that I'm trying to figure out what decks I want to pair it with. I don't know why my brain is like, I don't know. I have a need in my brain for sameness. And these borders, as you can see, are a very unique, like, color. And so for some reason, when I try to pair this with decks with other borders, if it's not like completely black or something, I get really like irrationally mad. So I've been trying to pair this and think about decks that go with this one that either are like darker bordered or are completely borderless. So I guess that's where I sit and why I haven't started using this one, but I do want to use this next year because, as you can see, the collage work is beautiful. I think the keywords are really fascinating too. Some of them have tarot, like major arcana in them, but then you have cards like Caretaker or Boundaries, right? And it's just stunning. So for that reason, I'm very excited and want to use this one. It's giving me definitely spring, summer vibes though. So I'm going to see when that'll be. But yeah, that's the end of this. I'm losing brain cells. So I'm going to have to go off. And also, you can see it's really fucking dark right now. That's the one thing. When you're trying to film in the winter, it is the worst. It's just, there goes your light. It's gone. Bye-bye. So if you've watched this long, thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye!